Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Alcon, and welcome to Pre-Market Info.
Caterpillar earnings here today. We're going to get to those in just a second. Let's start with the overall market. We're up 7 points here. It's been an interesting pre-market session here. As you can tell, we've kind of just chopped around. We had a rally here when we opened up at 6 o'clock there Sunday night, and we kind of just chopped around here in the last 10 or 4 or 5 hours here between 1552 and 1557.
Yep, it kind of had strong day on Friday, closed near the high, opened up 47.50 was the close, opened up 48 and a half, and we've been rallying ever since. Kind of getting into the 1550 handle here. I know we had an intraday high at 1558.50. We didn't get close to that, well, within a point of it. So, of course, the overnight high is important, 1557 and a half, and coming back down, you really can't worry about this market sinking into the 1530s until we take out the close, 1547.50.
Bring up the cat chart here pre-market because it's been a pretty wild ride for the cat here. Stock reported earnings. They missed a buck 31 versus a buck 40. Joel, your chart's working here again because I'm not seeing the change of the chart. Caterpillar. There it is. Joel's a little bit slow on the trigger, but we took out 80 in the pre-market on those earnings. Buck 31 versus a buck 40. So they did miss. They actually lowered 2013 guidance too, but then they announced that they're going to resume their stock buyback, and I think the market liked that, obviously. And now the stock, believe it or not, is trading up a buck here. So they miss earnings. They lower guidance, but they do announce a buyback, and the stock rallies. This is one of those classic cases of a lot of bad news priced in because Caterpillar has been weak for basically 3 months coming into this report. And I think a lot of people expect it to maybe be worse.
79 pre-market low. We hit that just as earnings were released. We got to pop up to 81.54. That's been the high of the move. So let's keep an eye on those levels. But better perspective would be on the daily chart. You made a double bottom right at the $80 level. So if you're using that as a reference point to get long, coming back on the upside, I mean, we got a long way to go. The stock has been selling off hard since February. Coming back, you got a gap to fill up to the $82 level. I think that could be minor resistance. Above that, between 82 and 84, you don't have a whole lot. But keeping an eye on 81.62, that was our high from Wednesday.
And that $80 level is actually backed up by some institutional size down there too. So for a couple days, we bottomed right above the $80 level, and that actually being backed up. I see 95,000 shares bid in the book at 80. So your low on Friday was 80.01. Your low yesterday or the day before that was 80.05. So you do have a double bottom put in place. Bulls aren't going to be in charge in this unless that 80 goes. If the 80 goes, then all bets are off. And then remember, we knocked down to 79 in a hurry in the pre-market. So if 80 goes, 79 could come in a hurry too. But I think you're going to find some bottom pickers in this low 80s if this stock does pull back. Looking at a few other charts here, Halliburton, Joel, you might as well go to that one because it had earnings here as well, trading up a buck and a half this morning. The earnings were good, 67 cents versus 57 cents, and the stock is getting a nice lift, pulling back a bit from the pre-market highs, but still up that dollar and a half at 38.67.
39.20 is a high that we hit just a little bit ago in the pre-market. Coming down, finding some support at the 38.60 level. Support, I mean, is minor support. Take a look in context of the dailies here. Just made a new low of the move on Friday at 36.77. Coming back, we are trading above Thursdays and Fridays highs, which were 38.37 and 49. The next resistance point would be 39.24. But the only thing I want to caution about this stock, and they're related, the same sector. I mean, SLP. I mean, that stock was trading way up in the pre-market on Friday, and
Gave her all
just
back.
got lit up like a Christmas tree. So who knows if that same thing is going to foretell
Halliburton.
for Halliburton today, but just something to keep in the back of your mind if you're getting out and buying this off the hop.
do have a couple big ones reporting here tonight too, Joel, and we might as well preview those. Netflix will report earnings here after the bell. Everybody will be taking a look at this. It's up $5 here in the pre-market, so getting a little lift here with the overall market. Obviously get maybe a few people that were short and probably covering before the earnings here today as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a little bit of strength ahead of those earnings. Obviously, after this earnings report, I bet you're going to see, like last time I had earnings, it went from 100 to 140. So, I mean, this thing can move 20% on an earnings report. There's just no doubt about it. So, will be interesting to see what those Netflix earnings are after the bell, because technicals aren't going to matter after 4 o'clock.
168.60 is a high that we just hit in the pre-market. I'd be interesting to see if it can take out that level and just keep on going. 169.17 was Friday's high, so you have a good reference point. Above that, not a lot up until 171.90. But coming back, I mean, this thing has just had a monster run. Looks like people are taking some profits ahead of earnings. The low of the move has been 159, but I can't say that all gaps get filled, but this stock certainly has the one to fill from the last earnings play.
I don't think we're going to get down there, but
not today, but it could from the earnings. I mean, it could go 160 to 140 in a heartbeat.
Oh,
I mean,
it can, yeah. I think you're going to see a 15, 20-point move on this earnings report, so just because, the stock is volatile, and obviously people are trying to feel this out. After it rallies 40 points on its last earnings report, this earnings report's critical for the stock. Obviously, they don't want to have a disappointment here, because then sentiment can turn on this one in a heartbeat. Looking at another one's going to report earnings. Texas Instruments, Joel, is going to report here after the bell. I'm looking at the chart. It was weak there on Friday. Bounced back, closed okay. We had a pretty good rally in the market that allowed the stock to close positive there. 34 and a quarter. It is trading up another 25 cents here in the pre-market at 34.50, but very light volume here. I'm looking at all those highs there. I know you're going to point those out. In the high 35s, it looks like a brick wall up there. I don't think we're going to see that in the regular session, but this thing goes into rally mode. I think that high 35 area looks like going to see some major resistance.
You have three lower highs and three lower lows here, so that's not always a good sign. Made a new low on Friday at 33.56, and that coincides with the low that you had at 33.62 on February 26th. So that whole area is major support. Below that, you could be looking under the $33 level, perhaps under 32.5. Coming back on the upside, 34.40. We're trading above Friday's high. I would use that as minor support here. I think below 34.40, you could easily come back down and test the 34 level.
Do you see those 4 highs I'm looking at too, though, Joel? Higher than that?
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm talking about for you earnings players, because after hours, whoa, you're wiggling that mouse around a lot, making me dizzy. 35.92, 35.88, 35.88, and 35.86. 4 consecutive highs within 6 cents of each other. Not very often you will see that. I've got to think that's major resistance up there.
Think there's a big seller at 36?
Probably. There's probably something like that. I can't see that because it doesn't have a New York book, because it doesn't trade. Well, it doesn't have a New York book anymore because it doesn't trade New York anymore. Remember, they took it away from New York Stock Exchange, so can't. There's no more book for Texas Instruments on the New Yorks, anyways. But I gotta think there's something up there that somebody's sitting in front of for 4 days in a row, 4 highs like that. Man, that's you don't see that very often. Looking at it, some other ones. Let's talk about the GLD. We're getting a rally here in gold. It's up $3 the GLD here this morning, trading at 138.42. You've obviously got some reference points in place. This has had a slow drift higher ever since the washout day when we were down $100 there in one day. So I mean, it's trying to get in that whole gap area, trying to fill up. What's the bottom of that gap, Joel? When we had the gap down day.
That's way up there.
Yeah.
The bottom of that gap is 143.50.
Yeah, so that's 5 more points higher. But all I'll say is it's not going to go up 5 more points. But all I'll say is there's not a lot of reference points in here, so there's a lot of air. It is trading in an air area right now, and that is always difficult to trade technically when you don't have a lot of reference points like that.
139.16 has been the high in the pre-market trade. Keep an eye on that. We've pulled back down to the 138 level after that. That 138 level looks as mild intraday support. But keep on that if you're playing it, short off the open. And then, of course, you're getting into this whole gap area. But as we discussed before, gold is just, you got to take it home. If you're looking to buy this thing, you got to take a shot, during the trading session or if you're trading after hours, because it just doesn't, when it makes a lot of times the big moves, it occurs
It
overnight.
seems like
But
all the big
also,
moves are overnight. Yeah, all the big moves seem like they're overnight in the GLD, and it seems like it finds its range and it'll bounce around a buck or two intraday. But it seems like at least has really big moves overnight. So, yeah, so if you're an overnight trader, there's some money to be made, but obviously some risk as well.
there was some favorable ink in Barron's too regarding that. So, but if you're looking perhaps to play the laggard here, silver
Yeah,
only trading up 30 cents at 22.70. Very good reference points here from 2301, 2310. Really bumped his head against that over the last 5 trading sessions. So, if you're looking to trade something a little less volatile there, you can perhaps maybe catch the SLV going over 23. And if you look at the high in the pre-market in SLV, 22.89. So a little bit better of a reference point in the SLV than you do in the GLD.
couple downgrades in the sector. NEM getting downgraded at Deutsche Bank and Barrick Gold getting downgraded at Deutsche Bank. It doesn't matter because these stocks are trading off a gold price. Gold price up 30 bucks. Both of these stocks are trading higher despite the Deutsche Bank downgrades. 33.50 is where NEM is trading right now after closing 32.98. So it's getting a 50-cent pop here. Is it going to hold, or is that downgrade going to put pressure on it once the market opens?
Look at this. 33.57 was Friday's high. I'm looking at the boost in the pre-market. Got a little bit over that. You got the 33.63. So you're opening up into resistance as you are in the SLV. So if you don't get a follow through right through that 33.60 area, Newmont could just sink right back down to perhaps to the close right around the $33 level, 32.98. But a lot of times when you get a major sell-off like this, then you get a pop in the after hours and pre-markets. People start to move their bids up, and start to try and cover ahead. So I think that $33 level should now attract some attention.
What about Barrick? Because Barrick is getting a lift here with gold too. It's up
Not
about
much.
50
So
cents. 1866, but look at those three bottoms that we put in now. 1751 was the low on the 17th, 1759 the low on the 18th, 1776 the low on the 19th. So slowly climbing up those bottoms there. Obviously the bogey, if you're playing this long, is now 1751. It's up a buck from that level, 1866. Deutsche Bank don't like it, but I still say, if this thing gets in low 18s, I think you're going to have some people probably looking to maybe pick bottoms here now because we have had 3 days without making a new low.
uh, opening up into resistance as well. 1892 was Friday's high. Wednesday's high was 1911. So you got to clear that $19 level with some spirit in order to get back up into the 20s. But once again, the GLT is getting a much better bounce. Miners not quite responding yet, so still keep an eye on those resistance points. If you were, I mean, not too many people could be making money off a long here, but trying to protect.
Yeah, there's a few people that are down in this stock, including in my investment portfolio. I have some Barrick in my investment portfolio. I guess that was a bad investment. So I always try to separate my trading from investing, and I've had some Barrick for years in my investment portfolio. I guess I should have dumped that one. General Electric trading down here. JP Morgan downgrading the stock. Obviously, they had the bad day on Friday with the earnings report, disappointing, taking out that 22 area. Closed 21.75, so closed fairly weak. 21.57 is where it's trading at right now, slightly below the low on Friday, which was 21.61.
Right, and you did actually get a little bit lower that in the after hours trading, 21.51. I think with this stock, it's trades similar to the Microsoft and the Pfizer's and stocks like that, where it's gonna give you a little hint if it's gonna make a bottom. 21.61 obviously is not going to be the low for the move, so you just have to wait for a double or triple bottom to appear, and then use that as a reference point. Boy, I tell you, I see major support at the $21 level, but that would really take some follow through. With the SPOOs up 7.25, I don't see that happening today.
Let's talk about Apple. They're going to report earnings tomorrow night. It's trading up a couple of bucks here, 392.20. We've had a couple closes now below this 400 area. Obviously, 400 is a big number for this. Do you think this thing can get a pre-earnings run here in the next couple days, or are people going to be nervous and dump it off again?
Once again, not many people making money on the long side unless you've been
Ooh,
in it
but
for the
unless you bought
last
it 3 years
five or
ago.
10 years or
Yeah.
whatever. But keep it. I mean, we are trading at above the close, which was 390.53. Thursday's close was right in that area, 392.05. Looks like someone has an opinion here in the mid 392. So keep an eye on that as resistance. Above that, you have some room up to Friday's high, which was just under the $400 level at 399.60. So there's your reference points. Coming back on the downside, 385.10 was the low from Friday. And then I also marked the close here in my notes on April 5th. That was the day that Steve Jobs passed away. The close on that day was 378.25.
Look at that Google chart too, just from Friday. That was the craziest stock, because that stock, believe it or not, Google, if you can bring up even in the pre-market, I don't know if you can get the pre-market from or after hours from Thursday night, but after they reported earnings, the stock went. Joel's going to try to hunt it down. After they reported earnings, yeah, you can see that's what I'm going to look at. After they reported earnings, the stock spiked all the way up to 796, then gave back all of those, and then it spiked up again, gave it all back, kept finding support around 765, and then actually on Friday morning the stock opened fairly low, opened around 769.16, bottomed at 766, and then started running, and I mean running, and it ran all the way up, taking out the 800 net level, just closing slightly below it at 799.87. But a great run there intraday for Google. Everybody was jumping into that stock. This stock is now almost twice as much as Apple, and I think it's been a long time since we've seen that. Apple trading here, actually it is, it's more than twice as much now. Apple trading at 392, and Google's now over 800 here in the pre-market session. So Google has now doubled in the stock price. Obviously not market cap, but stock price of Apple, as they were the same back in September of last year.
A couple notes on the Googster. I mean, we talked about this Friday, on the seminar, how, we try and emphasize highs, lows, and closes as well. The close on Thursday was 765.91. If you were short and you're trying to get out at the mark, you would have had to jump your bid, because 766.26 was the low. So the close held up. Rallied back over the $800 level. We made a high at 803.44. Looking at the pre-market activity here, someone has a little bit of opinion here at 803. So you got a good reference point if you happen to catch that that stock on the scoop yesterday. 803, the Friday's high should be good. Should be initially be good resistance. Also, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but you did have a rally. You came off the 844 high. You dipped down to 760. Basically an 80-some point move, brings you back up to 50% retracement. I'd really like, for the Google longs, I'd like to see it get back above that $800 level, hold that for a couple days, and then maybe make a run at the double top at 814.20 to 83. But Googster needs to stay over 800 next couple days.
Go bring back that pre-market chart, because I just want to point something out from Friday's trading action, because if you look at the chart, there never really was much of a pullback. So if you got the impression that you were shorting this off the hop, no, don't go that far, Joel. Just go back to what you just had. I just want to point out the action from Friday. So looking at Friday's action, see how we opened low at 769, obviously, and then we had the run up. We pulled back a few bucks, but then we consolidated, ran up again. Now we've consolidated, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that might actually be caught shorting this thing in that area, and possibly in this next area too. So if this thing can, like Joel's saying, get above that 803, what was the high on Friday? 803 and change? You were saying,
I believe it was 803.40.
Yeah, so if we can start getting above 804, 805, I think those shorts will start scrambling again. You could see this thing pop another $5 or $10. So I'm more bullish on this than I am bearish. I know we had a heck of a run, but like I've been saying forever, this is the momentum market. When a stock starts rolling, it can roll for a while. And we had a 35-point rally there on Friday, and I think you might have more gas in the tank here to continue this march higher. So I wouldn't be surprised if Joel was talking about that double top might take a run. I wouldn't be surprised if it takes a run at that today, that 814 area that you were talking about.
This is, if anything, that, from looking at this chart, if you're looking off the 15 minutes, then you're playing this thing and you did jump in here and this consolidation here is shorting. I mean, boom, there was a crowded trade there because once it took out that high, it was off to the races back to 800.
Yep.
But just recapping, Friday's action, Dennis. What do you think Warren's thinking here on his IBM? Holy mackerel.
That was just an ugly day for IBM. Like, we kept thinking it might find support in the 195 area. Hell no, that thing just kept cutting through every support possible. Closed week 190, getting no bounce here this morning either, Joel. It's only up 40 cents with the market up 6 points, so no bulls are coming out here. I mean, 190 is a big level for it. Obviously, I'll take a look at the low 189.76 on Friday. That'll be my bogey. If it starts trading below there, could have another $2-3 on the downside. We are running into some supports from late December where we got down to 188.84, and then earlier on December we got down to 186.94. So I think if it takes out that low from Friday, it could lose another couple bucks in a hurry. Obviously, if that low holds, maybe you can try to rally back, but it's very hard for a stock that just fell $20 to all of a sudden rally back $5 or $6. Typically doesn't happen. There's too many longs underwater. Stocks, I think, still might have more downside here.
191.24 is what it hit in the pre-market. And then the last chart that I want to bring up here, we've been talking about this Pfizer, the $31 level on. Yeah, took it on Friday, so it cleared out those sellers there. I think this is one of those situations where you get open a quick dip under under 31.
Shake out the longs.
It holds, shake out some of those people that bought it. It holds. You're looking at the next major resistance point is the October of 2004 high at 31.50. But yeah, and if you're thinking of shorting this thing, all they have to do is give you a chart here of Procter and Gamble or J&J. I mean, these things have just been parabolic, so that they've been in favor. But Dennis, the market's kind of stalling. I don't want to say stalling here, but looking at the pre-market activity, just hanging out here in the 1554, 1555 handle. How you looking at the open?
Well, I like that 1557 area for a little initial resistance because you can see up there, since the session started here, we got 6-7 times we've topped out in the 1557 area. So I'd use that as my initial resistance. So we get up another $3 here. Might try some shorts. Obviously starts to take out, go above 1560, then maybe the bulls continue. But I'm a little nervous here. I mean, Caterpillar, sure, okay, stocks trading up, buyback, lots priced in, but those earnings were not great again here. We did have a run up, on some imbalances there on Friday. We were running here for a lot of the day ahead of the option expiration. So I mean, I'm a little bit nervous, and I think you got a nice resistance point at 1557.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our broadcast for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back with you tomorrow.